I don't want to be there, but I can't move my trailer. I'm not gonna move my trailer. I just want to stay and I want to be left alone.
Thank you for agreeing to appear on this short notice. It's titled Centerville Mobile Home Park versus Shauna Zerley. File number is 252106LT. Shauna Zerley is here with me in the courtroom. She emailed, I wouldn't exactly call it a court filing, she hasn't paid a filing fee. She emailed a motion to stay eviction and motion to set aside judgment, motion to stay execution of judgment, motion to set aside vacate judgment, on a number of things in an email. She then also today dropped off a bunch of stuff to the clerk a short time ago, which she's still trying to get date stamped and scanned in, so I haven't seen it yet. The defendant is here in pro per. Legal aid will not be representing the defendant. Megan Bauer told me or us that she would not be representing this defendant and that they did not accept her as a client. So she's in pro per. We had a first hearing on November 7th. We had, me being the court, had some confusion about how much was actually due. There were issues about how costs were calculated, what were late fees, what were utilities. So we rescheduled the matter, as we always do, for a second hearing. And that was heard on the 14th of November. And the parties were placed under oath, and I took testimony and came up with a figure that the amount owed. This is a demand for non-payment of rent, not termination of tenancy. I found that the amount owed was $2,752.69, $169.84, and cost for a total of $2,922.53, I think it is. As I indicated, it is a non-payment of rent case, and it allows removal of the trailer. The defendant has filed a bunch of stuff, not paid the motion fee, and asked me to stay these proceedings. The defendant has raised a number of issues here that I don't think were raised before. Ms. Zerley, what are you asking me to do?
Well, their math isn't mathing. I did make 2 payments that I was ultimately told by them that did not go through, but they did go through my bank. So I ended up paying them, and I don't have the paper in front of me, so I don't have the exact figure. It was over $2,000 some, which leaves me a credit of $100 for the month of November. And there's in their system, when I sign on, it even shows that, and it shows that I made the payments also. I did include some of my bank statements also. There's a lot in there, and I'm sorry, I try to keep it minimal.
We took testimony under oath. Ms. DeCenzo is here, and the manager, Jessica, is also here, Jeshua. Ms. DeCenzo's testimony was no payment had been received, I believe, since June. But I don't believe that you made several $1,000s worth of payments that you weren't credited
Their
for.
records even show it, like the bills that they dropped off on my door, and they didn't apply the accounts to my account. And the thing that's really disturbing to me is I tried to get a hold of Ms. DeCenzo yesterday. I think I missed her call. I have 2 portals that I can log into. One of them shows that I didn't pay, and the other one shows that I have paid. Now, why I have 2 different portals from them, I have no idea why, but they're completely different login information. She did have me set up a new account. I think it was in August when I did pay. I paid August 8th, and I think it was 14th possibly.
Your Honor, if I may, we're covering old ground here.
Yes.
This was argued on the 14th. As was noted on the 14th, there were 2 payments that were made and returned NSF. And you noted that as you calculated the amount due. As far as today is concerned, obviously I didn't have an opportunity to get a response in, and I haven't seen whatever was dropped off this morning.
Neither have I. It's a big pile of stuff that has been handed to me about 2 minutes ago.
So what I would say is, firstly, if there's a motion for stay, it should have been accompanied by 1 month's rent as a bond. If there was no filing fee paid, for the motion. I'm guessing there was no month's rent deposited with the court. I would also indicate that what this seems to me, at least in part, would be a motion for reconsideration. And for that, the tenant defendant would have to show that there was a palpable error on the part of the court. And looking at what was sent by email, I did not see any kind of palpable error. She argues that she was somehow entitled to a public defender or legal aid to represent her. And I think we've established that certainly was not going to happen. In addition, she's making the same argument, it sounds like this afternoon, that she argued on the 14th. I would indicate to the court that at the time that the court entered the judgment and noted the payment deadline of the 24th, it indicated that it was not likely to sign any kind of order of eviction until probably December 1st, just because of the way the holiday broke. And in fact, with this motion having been filed, we have not yet submitted the order of eviction to the court. We're prepared to send it in as early as today, but the court's not going to get it or look at it until after the weekend. So there is still time for Ms. Zierle to move without having an extra month's rent added to her tab. I think the court handled everything properly on the 14th. It took extensive testimony from Ms. Zierle. It evaluated it. It credited her for some money that had been assessed because it felt that the late fees were too high. Therefore, the judgment amount was less than the amount that was showing on my client's ledger. And I see no basis at this time to revisit anything that the court did on the 14th.
May I speak?
Yes.
But you haven't seen what I have, and neither has he. I don't feel that I had another person to back me up as I needed, and I felt like I got railroaded. And I feel like what I do have needs to be looked at, and it needs to be considered no matter what was decided on the 14th. I did state when we first started that I filed that I needed some help because of an ADA accommodation, and that was under oath. And
I looked for that. I couldn't find it, but let me,
at that point.
This is a matter of paying your rent or not paying your rent.
Yes.
It's not an ADA. They're not terminating your tenancy for just cause. There are certainly accommodations we make for people with.
I just needed help speaking for
right.
myself.
Okay. I'll concede that. We had 2 hearings, lengthy. I blocked out a bunch of time. I knew it was going to take a long time. Then immediately after you file all this stuff like throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what it'll stick. You didn't pay a filing fee. You didn't file it properly. You just emailed it to the court. Now, you're not a lawyer. So this morning, like an hour before the hearing, you drop off all this stuff. It's your contention. You're not under oath. And I said, I don't believe you, but you're not under oath, that you've paid all the delinquent rent and you should actually have a credit.
It shows on the paperwork.
All right.
Paperwork.
Show me in here. You find it. Show me where it says you paid your rent.
Well, you look at these too. Like there's credits up there. They were never applied to my account. They're just showing up and showing up and showing up. And here's the bank statements. And this is showing, it shows up like this when they've received a payment. For it's showing that I have a credit of $100 and some as of now. Even when I log in, like it won't let me even pay anything if I wanted to online. But I circled a bunch of things for Christy and I sent them back to her and I was like, it shows.
Couldn't have a seat.
So there was 2 different things that happened with my bank.
Well, sit down, okay. Sit down. All right. Ms. DeCenzo testified under oath that they haven't received any money under any account since June. And I agreed with that. I substantially reduced the amount they were asking for by reducing late fees and some other things that were unclear. And I came up with that number after taking testimony. The way the trial works is you don't come in 4 days later and say, well, here's all the evidence I should have had at the trial. Plus, I can't make head nor tail of it.
I entrusted Meg.
All right. So they want you to move your trailer. And I suspect you've done absolutely nothing to move your trailer. So what you want them to do is take your money and let you stay there.
I can't go anywhere. I'm halfway dead as we speak.
I don't believe they do have your money. And I would need someone from the bank to testify,
Okay.
not just some papers that are printed off a screenshot.
I didn't pay because I knew it would come to court. I didn't pay for 2 months and then I ended up paying. And she told me she hadn't received my payment. And then she did get my payment and it shows. And it's even on all the bills they put on my door that they received that money. But then all of a sudden they come up with all this money that they need me to pay. And if you look at all the paperwork, you'll see where they just.
I don't see it.
Made
I
stuff
see
up.
where it's so small, I can't read it. It's a
It's I
screenshot
did
from
the best I could
something.
do. It's from their account
Um,
where I log in online.
I can't even read it. You're asking me to do a number of things. You're asking me to stay the proceedings. Because your contention is we haven't seen this evidence that establishes that you've paid the rent. We took testimony that you haven't paid the rent. In fairness to Mr. Landman and Ms. DeCenzo, they haven't seen any of this stuff that you laid on me at 11:45 this morning. And so I can't tell what it shows. I suspect when Ms. DeCenzo goes through it, she's not going to change her current opinion
She's not.
that you owe the money. The point of fact, they didn't do it as a just cause termination. Would have been a lot easier if they had. I mentioned that last week, and there's no reason to beat a dead horse. And he's right. Nothing's going to happen till after December 1st. We've never actually, I haven't seen one of these that's been executed. Let's say they hire a company, Kramer Trailer Moving Services. They come up, they disconnect your gas, your electricity, your water, and then they pull the trailer off your lot. I don't know what they do then.
I've tried
Take it to
move
Walmart parking lot and park it?
I tried to get help to move because I don't want to be there because of the things that have
Well,
happened
that's
to
the
me.
other stuff. You told me what a terrible place this was and how much you hate being there and
But
you're
I'm already
unsafe, and you've
half
been
dead. I don't
assaulted.
see any point in trying to move right now. I don't know how much longer I have.
Well, none of us do. Anyway, I haven't signed any eviction order. Oh, you came in at 12:50, not 11:50. You came in at 10 minutes before the hearing and laid all this paperwork on us. I did set this on short notice because I wanted to deal with it.
In all fairness, Meg had this on the 7th and I thought she.
Meg
was
is not going to be
I
representing
thought
you.
was
She
going to show you
indicated that
guys that.
she was not going to be able to establish an attorney-client
never told me
relationship and
that.
they would not be representing you. And she wasn't here at the hearing. They don't get court-appointed counsel for civil matters, but nothing is going to happen imminently, Ms. DeCenzo. I don't know if you guys have contacted a company and I don't know what they're going to do. You're doing nothing. You're doing nothing.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
You're supposed to find some place to move your trailer to. You hate it there. You don't like them. You feel they're unfair. You believe you were
They need to
assaulted in
be
your own
audited.
home. And you'd like to move, but you haven't done anything to find out
No,
about
I
moving.
haven't. I don't have the energy to move. I don't have the energy in me to fight anymore. okay?
Well, the money that you claim that you paid, which they contend you have not, could be used to pay for the move of your trailer.
Yeah, I could. I've tried to get the county to help me move it after what's happened to me. And
Well,
they've heard of no such thing.
That I've never heard of the county paying.
So they
you.
want me to move no matter what.
Well, ostensibly, yes, they do.
Well,
Now,
she has called me several times and tried to get me to sell it before we even came to court.
now that in the other ones, there's an option. You have 90 days to move or sell the mobile home.
Well,
And so very often they work out some sort of an agreement where you sign the title over to them, they forgive the arrearages, you don't have to move the mobile home. And then, in fact, I think that's usually what happens.
It's unfair to make me leave. I'm
Why?
not the problem. A lot of things keep happening to my home. It keeps getting broken into over and over and over and over. I'm not the problem. They're aware of who the problem is and they're not taking care of it. So I find it unfair and unfit that I am the one who has to move. Just because someone doesn't like me and they're causing a lot of
Well,
problems.
they argue that you're not paying your rent and you haven't paid the rent since June.
They've destroyed my trailer.
Well, they haven't.
I would rather pay a lawyer than pay them. Because
Um,
I know I paid and they know I paid, and I don't know why they're doing this. Other than the fact that I feel like it's retaliatory, just like my garbage can gone, just like my rent keeps going up, knocks on my door, asks me where I'm getting my medication now, the day that I change it to a different pharmacy. Why would they need to know that? Because my medication keeps getting stolen out of my home. Like, this stuff is just ridiculous. These are the things that I've been dealing with. I don't want to be there, but I can't move my trailer. I'm not gonna move my trailer. I just want to stay and I want to be left alone. And I want things to be fair.
Your Honor, if I may, my client is willing to discuss with Ms. Zierle either purchasing her home or accepting a transfer of the home in exchange for a waiver of the rent that's owed. But under either scenario, Ms. Zierle is going to have to move. And what would likely happen if an order of eviction were issued is that the first thing that would occur is that with the assistance of a court officer, Ms. Zierle and her belongings would be removed from the home. My client would have 56 days from the issuance of
No,
the
they
order of
wouldn't.
eviction.
No, they wouldn't. They would not be removed from the home.
I'm too old for this.
You have the right to move the trailer. You do not have the right to remove anything from it. So you've got all kinds of liability issues here by doing it this way. No, she doesn't have to move out. Under a just cause, she does. She has 10 days to vacate and 90 days to move or sell the mobile home, but you didn't do it that way. So you have a right to haul the mobile home off of her lot. She doesn't have to vacate. She doesn't have to move anything out of there. Under the other way that nobody does, she would. Now, again, here today, nobody's under oath. We were last week and Ms. DeCenzo testified and no money had been paid. So essentially she's arguing the same thing. At 10 minutes before the hearing, she filed a bunch of pleadings that I can't read that contends that she's paid the rent.
And that puts us in the same position as we were on the 14th,
Yes,
Your
we
Honor,
are.
because you concluded
So,
that her payments had been returned to NSF, which is in accordance with what had been testified to.
NSF can also be considered a credit that needs to be looked at.
No, it
Because
isn't.
Pay lease
no, it's
and rent
not.
manager
So
both
that's
tried
your,
to take from
that's
me.
your contention that the NSF should be credited to your account?
That's not what I'm saying. NSF. Now, NSF can mean they try to pull from rent manager and from pay lease. It only pulled from one. So it got returned to pay lease, but not rent manager, if that makes any sense. They tried to pull it twice through the portal, and I'm not sure exactly why. My paperwork does show that, and it does show where it was taken, and it shows that I was actually charged by rent manager to pay that payment, both of them. The amount in the $1,118.11 and the amount in the $1,228 and some odd cents.
Yeah, we took testimony on that matter on the 14th.
I know you did.
And I didn't make that finding. One option I'm considering, Mr. Landman, is
You can see in the paperwork that I paid.
I can't see anything in this paperwork. I can't even read it. You filed
Well,
it
then
10
you need
minutes
bigger
before the
glasses. I
hearing
don't
and
know.
it's so small, I'm gonna need to magnify it to read it. Plus, I don't know what it means. I'm not an accountant. I don't know what the bank's policies and procedures are. It needs an expert from the bank that can tell me what happened to this money. I'm contemplating setting a hearing and entering an escrow order where she has to pay December and November's rent, which is money she could use to move. November's rent is long past due. December's rent is about to be
I'm fine with
due.
that.
What's that?
I'm fine with paying November and December.
But I already made a finding, multiple problems. Mr. Landman spoke to these. You didn't file a proper pleading. You sent an email to the court.
I asked
You
how to
didn't
do
serve
it.
a copy on the other party. We had to do that. You didn't pay the filing fee.
I'm okay with.
For
doing it.
the-
I'm
for
not a
that.
lawyer. I had nobody to help
I
me.
know,
called the
you're
court.
doing the best you can. I already did it. And I resent the fact that I had to cancel everything I had that was scheduled for this afternoon to
My
hear this a
apologies.
second time because you didn't like what I ruled the first time. Mr. Landman, one of the problems is she's filed all this stuff. I could simply say it wasn't timely. It's filed 10 minutes before the hearing starts and she didn't
I
serve a
was told
copy on
that's
the
what
other
time I needed
side.
to come in. I did what I was told.
By
I was
who?
told to come in 15 minutes early.
Well, yeah, that's
you could get
fine,
that
but not
paperwork.
come in 15 minutes early and file your
That's what I was
pleadings.
told. I'm sorry.
All
If I
right,
was told differently, I'd have done it differently.
Mr. Landman, any final words?
Your Honor, all I will say is that even though that Ms. Zierle is representing herself, she is still obligated to do things in compliance with the Michigan court rules. The court certainly had the discretion to expedite the hearing, and I appreciate the fact that it was trying to deal with this promptly. But as far as a basis certainly as a basis for setting aside the judgment, there is none. And there's really no basis for a stay either without a bond having been paid, without the filing fee even having been paid. I think this was simply a situation where Ms. Early was attempting to buy time, and she succeeded to an extent. Even if as I mentioned before, even if the order of eviction were submitted today, you're not going to see it until Monday. And what you choose to do with it at that point, what the court chooses to do with it, is obviously up to the court's discretion. But as you have noted, Ms. Early is unhappy living there. She wants to continue living there, I guess, for free, and she should.
I'm not trying to stop anything.
Stop. It's his turn to talk. Go ahead, Mr. Landman.
Yeah, and that's really all I have to say, Your Honor. I think that this was sort of a Hail Mary type of situation, and I don't see where the Hail Mary should be completed for a score.
I don't want to go, and I'm not trying to stall any time, and that's not what this was about. I thought I had someone to back me up in court. She had all my paperwork, and then when we returned the 14th, which I spoke to her before the 14th, I thought she was going to be there with my paperwork to back me up. This is not me stalling. This is me trying to be fair and try to get a fair judgment.
And by she, you're talking about Meg Bauer from
Legal Aid? And I'm trying to do everything within the court's judgment and whatever you want to call it. I don't know. The proceedings, I don't know what they are. I'm not a lawyer. All I've done is call and ask questions and try to see what I need to do. And I'm still lost as that goes. But I don't feel that I should have to leave. Their math is wrong. And I don't appreciate getting threatening phone calls from her either. And I don't know if you read that or not. And I'm not making that up.
Well, since I didn't see it until 1 minute ago, I guess I didn't see it. Who made threatening phone calls to you?
She did. She was laughing.
She who?
Ms. DeCenzo.
As of when?
Before court. Before the first hearing. They kept calling me like 3 weeks before court, asking me why I hadn't left yet, telling me I needed to sell, and if I didn't do this or that, they were gonna, I'm not gonna repeat any of it out loud.
Well, one factor, you need to be able to speak to each other. Mr. Landman's suggestion is that you would somehow transfer title of this to them and move.
I don't even know that I have it. I'm not sure whose name it is anymore because all that stuff was stolen out of my house. I don't even know if my car is in my name anymore. To be honest with you.
Motion to stay is denied. Motion to set aside the judgment is denied.
Which I guess in child kindergarten terms, I'm going to need you to explain to me what that means.
Means they're going to move your trailer off of there unless you agree to move it or transfer it to them.
So
they cannot move you out of the trailer. They can't have the sheriff come move you and your stuff out. This isn't that kind of an order.
So I'm essentially going to be homeless because I can't get a loan and I cannot get help. I've already tried to do all of that. That's cool. Happy Thanksgiving.
Perhaps.
She told me she would do this to me and she would make sure that that happened.
My goal isn't to make you homeless. My goal is to try to follow the law. And they filed this. They filed all the proper procedures. I'm allowing to do this, as I indicated. I wish they'd done it differently, but I gave the order that I gave. I took testimony under oath. Legal Aid is not representing you. They indicated then, they've indicated since they will not be
also told you I
filing an
needed
appearance
help.
in this case.
A lot of times I see you, oh, I think you might need a lawyer for this. You didn't even offer me that. I don't know what I'm doing. All I know is I paid what I paid and they are trying to get more out of me than what I've paid. They're trying to get me double. And if you look through the bills that they personally gave me themselves and hung on my door, it literally says I paid them.
Well, the sworn testimony was no payment has been made since June of 2025. And that's the finding that I made.
I paid in August.
I greatly reduced the amount owed. I believe their version more than I believe yours.
It's not a matter of whatever you believe me. It's what is on paper there in front of you.
And
I
don't want to argue about it anymore. You're going to have to prepare.
I can't even make a payment.
You're going to have
I have a credit of $100.
I did not make that finding.
All the paperwork is in front of you. I don't enjoy it. The only reason why I haven't paid them is because I paid them twice. And if you look through that fudgery of clown paperwork, it's not funny. Like, I don't know why they're trying to do this. Jesus knows, or Jessica, or Jessie, or whatever you want to call her. She knows I paid. I know she knows. I know she knows I got it. I'm concerned that they should do an audit on the whole trailer park because I guess I'm not the first person this has happened to. I've even asked her how much my rent is supposed to be because I think I'm paying a ridiculous amount of rent for living there opposed to other people. Why is that? Why don't I have a garbage can? Why was mine taken away and nobody else's? Like, this is just all retaliatory.
All right. They prevailed on the 14th, and I stand by that original ruling. So your options are to move your stuff out and leave your trailer there, move your trailer to somewhere, or negotiate some sort of sale or transfer to the park for
But
the,
yeah, they offered me $500 in my keys.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how much the trailer's worth. In fact, I don't even know if you have the right to transfer the title to it.
I wish you would take the time and just really look through that stack. I know that you are.
I've made my ruling and I stand by
You
it.
did, and you made your ruling on the 14th, and I told you at the beginning of that I needed help. I had filed an ADA for a reason.
You didn't
I
file
cannot,
an
I
ADA.
did,
I
and I
made-
did before that court
All
date,
right.
and I told you under oath, and at that point, all proceedings should have stopped.
For what?
It's part of
Someone
the
to-
law. It's part of my rights.
All right, then you
And I
can
felt
appeal, you can
railroaded.
appeal this to the circuit court and ask for a stay there. I don't think I'll grant one. They don't want you there.
don't
If you
wanna
had
be
a
there,
big
but
pile
I'm-
of money, you could pay it all and I'd
I
have to
probably have a
accept.
year left in
Well,
my life.
here's one, I told you how much you owed. Pay it.
I'd rather pay a lawyer and have them look at that stuff than pay them.
Well, that's up to you. I told you in clear English that through November, now shortly, December will be due. I told you after a hearing, you owe $2,752.69 in rent and a court cost of
I paid
$169.84.
in August. I had $3,000 in my
All
account
right.
in August, and then I paid them, and I have
Well,
like
then-
500 left.
You
Where'd
owe
it go?
$2,922.53. Mr. Lamon, she gave all this stuff to us at 10 to 1. We scanned it. I'll send it to you, but
Your
please
Honor, that's
escort
not
Ms. Lilly.
necessary. Your staff already has done so.
All right, thank you. That's the cure. Pay it. All right, you're good to go. I'd
Thank you, Your
suggest if
Honor.
you want to stay there, you pay them rather than a lawyer. Of course,
But it
December's
sounds
rent.
like I paid them and I'm still not staying.
Well, if you pay them, you get to stay. That's pretty straightforward. You'll just under $3,000 through November. If you pay them rather than a lawyer, then your rent is current. I made a finding on how much the rent was due.
Well, I'm willing to bet that.
All right, please escort her out. I don't have
I
anything
don't know
else
how
to
to-
say. I don't want to
Can I
argue
get my
about the same thing.
paperwork
over
back?
and over.
Is what I want to ask.
Well, you file it with the court. Well, you did scan it, so I guess I'll give it back to you.
Okay.
Show that it
I
was,
mean, I didn't make a million copies of everything. I'm not violent. There's no need for there. I just wanna
You're
know if I
free
can
to
have my
go.
paperwork back.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Well, Ms. DeCenzo is waving her arms and she's muted.
I
That was
apologize.
not a good answer to that question, but that's my ruling and I'll stand by it. And I wish you would consider filing termination of tenancy, wrongful, just cause terminations in these cases that make our life easier.
The problem,
guys
Your
can-
Honor, is that in order to fall under the just cause statute, when the tenant is behind in their rent, you have to have filed on them 3 or more times in the course of a year.
Yes, 3 times in a 12-month period.
Right.
That's the
So-
way everybody used to do it.
So
And
if the
that's the way
tenant is
some
2 months,
judges-
if the tenant is 2 months behind, for example, you'd have to file on the tenant, and you can't file it as a just cause, so it has to be as a non-payment. And you have to do it 3 times in a 12-month period.
Yes, I'm aware of it, and I'm
Yeah.
aware some judges won't let you do it. You can't do this in, you can do it in Kalamazoo, you can't do it in Livingston. There are some other jurisdictions that say the law isn't clear. And I said this before, we need a change in the court rule, a court case, or a change in the statute to make it more clear, but so far as no one's appealed this. But your remedy is untenable. You have a right to come take her trailer off of there and move it somewhere, in which case you incur all kinds of liability. If you break the stuff that's in her trailer, you leave it somewhere and it gets looted. It's not a good solution to the question, but All right, that's my first crisis of the day. I've got another one here in just a minute.
You
All right,
have
I'll
my
see you next time.
condolences.
All right, thank you.
Where does that leave us? Sorry.
You can
Your Honor.
discuss that with your lawyer.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, that was not a very satisfactory ruling for anybody, but I made my ruling on the 14th and I believe it was accurate. And I don't believe the defendant has had her account dinged for the amount she claims.